And we're back with part 2 of our first module, Introduction to Research. And we were just talking about the type of research that can take place in a business setting, depending on different departments. And we're going to talk about now research types, because not all research is handled in the same way. There's actually lots of different types of research. And when it comes to research in business organizations, there are different types as well. So we're going to review that right now. The main research types that are used in business settings are distinguished between applied and basic. Basic are research that is done to become more knowledgeable. Excuse me. This is called basic research. This is like me doing a doctorate on the different types of business processes that can take place in a Spanish business in the 21st century. This is not for something that I need to address. It's not addressing a problem that I have in my business at the moment. It's because I want to become more knowledgeable, create more knowledge, create a body of knowledge about that specific subject. And later on, it perhaps could be used in organizations. Whereas applied means that it is applied, meaning it is used in application to resolve a specific problem in a business setting. So this is the main difference, I won't use basic, the main difference between applied and basic research. For example, when Apple's iPod sales, which first had increased by 200%, started decreasing in 2009, Apple decided to research and see what the problem was in order to see why their sales were dropping. So this is called applied research because it is done in order to resolve a problem that the organization is facing at that moment. When a university professor, as I explained before, if I'm doing my doctorate in specific types of business organizations in the 21st century in Spain, that kind of research will be basic research because it's made to understand, to gather more information, to create a body of knowledge about a specific area. And this is something that can also be applied. I don't want to use applied because we're talking about basic research, but this is something that can also be used later on in other kinds of business organizations or business settings. So in a nutshell, basic research is to gain a broader objective of generating knowledge, whereas applied research is specifically aimed at resolving a current problem that the organization is facing. But you can see here that there are lots of other types of research, and I'm going to address various of them in 1 minute. But so we can finish really understanding the concept and the differences between applied and basic research, taken to the coronavirus situation. Yet again, I'm referring to the current situation that everybody's talking about. We could see, for example, that applied research is what scientists and pharmaceutical companies are doing in order to create the COVID-19 vaccines, because they are researching based on a specific problem that needs to be resolved. However, basic research is, for example, a psychological study that can be done over the course of years, 10 years, 20 years, to see the long-term effects of homeschooling on elementary school children since they have been quarantined and their parents have had to homeschool them for months at a time. That would be 2 examples of applied and basic research. What other research types are there? This is broken down a little bit differently than this, but it's actually all the same kind. We can see here, qualitative research. Qualitative means quality over quantity. We are looking for a specific quality and for more information from our research than just numerical data. So this can be content analysis. Let's see what the issue is with the content that we have here. It can be historical. This would be a lot more academic and not so much regarding business research. Or it can be case studies, where here in this school, you know, we love to do and work on case studies to see how this could be something that we can implement in our organization, for example. And quantitative, as you can see here, is definitely based on numbers. It includes surveys, it includes causal comparative analysis, correlational or single subject analysis, but it's always quantitative research. We are looking for specific data that we can then break down into percentages, for example. Whereas quality, we are not looking for numbers. We are not looking to break anything down into percentages. We are looking for quality over quantity. And the way that we approach these two different kinds of research are very, very different. So qualitative is a lot more about, like I said, looking for the quality. It gives you a lot more insight and a lot more background than just a survey would. So this includes different types of research methods, such as one-on-one interviews, focus groups, process of observation, case study research. In case you guys don't know what these concepts mean, I'll go through them very briefly with you. Basically, one-on-one interviews is self-explanatory. It's one-on-one. You are the interviewer and another person is the interviewee. You ask them specific questions. You can provide open-ended questions, so it's not yes, no, to get as much information as possible from the other person. You can work off of their responses. You don't have to work off of a specific script, because you may want to work off of different responses and then be able to reach different conclusions. A focus group is qualitative research that is used very often in the marketing departments. And these are gathering a group of people that are similar to your target, that are actually part of your target group. For example, if your target group is millennials, millennial stay-at-home moms, for example, then you would create a focus group of a specific number, because there is such a thing as too few and there is such a thing as too many, but it would be a specific number of people depending on what kind of research you were doing, of millennial stay-at-home moms, and you would have them all in one setting, where you, as the person in the business organization, will be able to ask them to assess your product, to give you feedback about the product. Actually, there are times when they can actually go home and use the product and then come back and provide feedback about its usage, things that should be improved, things that work great for them, etc. This is the kind of research, qualitative. You are looking for quality that is done in a focus group. When we see quantitative, it's definitely numerical. And as you can see here, I'll go into just a few types, but for example, survey research is just that. You send out a survey. The more people that answer, the better. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that survey is, the results of the survey are 100% valid, because it may be that people are answering the survey only reading half the things, or reading very, very, just skimming the survey, or they don't even have time, they don't really give thought. That's one of the risks of having more numerical and quantitative data than qualitative data, because it's a number and you can't really see what the reasoning is behind that number. So as you can see here, this is a comparison board between qualitative and quantitative research. But basically, qualitative research is that you want to gain an understanding of reasons. Like I just explained before, with qualitative, with numerical research, you just have a percentage, but you don't have that insight or that feedback or that reasoning behind why they would choose one product over the other. For qualitative research, usually it's a small sample of people that are usually part of your target group or part of the group that you want to research about. It's non-statistical. There are no numbers, so there's no statistics. And examples, as I already explained before, you have focus groups, in-depth interviews, group discussions, etc. Quantitative, number. Quantity, quantitative, number. You want to quantify data and come up with general results from a very, very wide sample group in order to gain statistical validity. You can see here, the data analysis is statistical data in the form of tabulations, and findings are conclusive and usually descriptive. These kinds are, the sample, as I said, is a very large number of cases that would represent your core target, if we're talking about marketing, or the group that you need to focus on for your research. So for example, these are examples of different things that we could see between the difference between qualitative and quantitative research. Qualitative, my eye color. Quantitative, the weight of sumo wrestlers. You can see these are all numerical and these are all quality related. And this brings us to the last aspect of today's class, which is ethics in business research. And this is a big thing. Why is it a big thing? Because ethics in business research refers to the code of conduct that while conducting research, a business organization has to undergo. Ethics in business research can be applied both to the organization itself, to the participants in the research process, and to the people that are carrying out the research. As you can see here, major areas within business research ethics are the researchers, the respondents we can understand as the participants, the company, so are us, the business organization, and the business or industry. I don't refer to business as in being your business, because that would be under company, but this is the market, the industry that your business operates in. So here is a very good example of a non-ethical use of business research. That's what I want to say. See if you can find some statistics to prove it. And unfortunately, this is a lot more common than we actually think. And nowadays, if we think that we have information at our fingertips, literally at our fingertips in the form of internet, it's a lot easier to be able to find data that can pick us up. I'll tell you guys a very brief but enlightening story about something that happened to me in my personal life. I have a friend who, when she had her first child, she's got a pharmaceutical degree and she works in a pharmaceutical company. So, and she's actually in the marketing department, so she knows all of this quite well. And when I went to visit her, she had the newborn baby, must have been a few weeks old or a month, and she was having a beer. And I said, well, what are you doing having a beer? Because you can't have a beer while you're breastfeeding. And she said, no, I actually looked it up and I found that there are studies that say that alcohol does not, the mother digests it and it doesn't go into the breast milk. So you can actually drink alcohol and it's not going to affect the baby. And I found that to be really interesting. And I think it's very relevant today, because nowadays we can use and really find anything that can back us up. If we are getting back to the coronavirus, if we are coronavirus wary, then we can look up and we can find information that will back up our skepticism about whether the coronavirus actually exists. If we are much more fearful of coronavirus, we can also look up and we will find very fear-instilling cases of people that have gone through coronavirus. So two extremes, the same topic, and we can all, on both extremes, find information to back us up. So it's very important that in a business organization, when we begin the business research process, we are completely ethical in our going about this business research. So to sum it up, members that sponsor the research have to do it in good faith. They have to be aware of their own biases and be objective about how they are approaching the business research. The business research also has to be, the ethical code has to be present in the researchers. I'm the researcher in my organization, and I have to be ethical with all of the research that I'm carrying out, whether or not the results are what I was expecting or not. The participants who provide the information, who provide the data, the people who are surveyed, the people who are going to your focus groups, the people who are having the one-on-one interviews, they have to also be objective and not change their answer just because of the person that they have in front of them, or because perhaps the organization has told them that if they say so-and-so in the business research, they will have a reward, for example. The analysts who draw the conclusions from the data have to be very ethical, coming back to what I was just saying a minute ago, making sure that even if the results are not what we are expecting and we are not happy about the results, they have to be presented in an objective manner so that the business can take steps to fix that situation. And the entire research team really has to be very goal-oriented and very ethically oriented to ensure that nothing of this nature happens, to ensure that the business research process is completely ethical and there's no funny business going on. So for example, what can we see that happens in business research? Plagiarism. I'm copying my information from another study that was done, and I'm just going to take the conclusions from there, and it's okay. I don't need to cite my sources. I'll just use that myself. Violating non-disclosure agreements. Oh, did you hear that I'm working on the business research for so-and-so company because they're looking to go into this market? These are the kind of things that start murmurs in the industry, for example. Commercializing the data. If your company who has carried out the business research has not had an agreement to commercialize the data, then this is not something that you will be allowed to do. And willful misinterpretation of data. Hey, you know what? These findings aren't what I wanted to see, and we don't really have the money to invest to make all of these changes. So you know what? Why don't you change this and this value so that the data looks different and we can interpret it in a different way? This would be something that we consider willful misinterpretation of data. And so this brings us to the conclusion of our first module, Introduction to Business Research. I hope I've shed more light on this subject for you. For next week, I would like you all to read this book. You can download it from our school library. You have the link here. Look for the title, Business Research Methods. The author is Dr. Sue Greener. And please also read up on these online resources, these articles, and I also threw in a video here so that it can be a bit more dynamic for you. I look forward to seeing you guys next session. Thank you so much and have a good week. Bye-bye.